You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manel and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 179. My name's Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Got a really cool interview today with a guy, Ryan Mckenzie, who's been in the subscription model for a really long time, and he's built an enormous subscription product. And we just talked to him about how he built subscription business, and how he built it. He's doing like 7 figures a month after.
It's like almost $2 million a month.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's a really great interview. But before we get started, I just want to talk to you guys about Klaviyo. Klaviyo is
he uses
the
Klaviyo.
ultimate e-commerce marketing platform. He does use Klaviyo.
He uses Klaviyo. A lot of people using Klaviyo.
Yeah. So you got to go check them out. They have a free account you can sign up for up to 250 subscribers. And the tool's amazing. I mean, I'm in there every day looking at data, looking at probably too much data than I should be, Jason.
Well, that's where we make a lot of our money.
And clouding my mind with all the data.
And it's very, very profitable.
Yeah. For us, it's like, want to make some money today? Let's send another email. That's how it is almost every single day.
Yep.
And we use Klaviyo to do that. So we got to check them out. It's at klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's klaviyo.com/uncensored. And coming up soon, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be publishing, actually it's next week, we're going to be publishing the finalists in the Klaviyo owned growth stories contest. They picked 5 finalists for the 25 grand prize.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. And most of them are using, they're all using Klaviyo,
of course.
But a lot of them aren't using email as much as we thought they would. And it's very interesting. In fact, one of them is we're going to be speaking with on Thursday to actually talk about helping her with her email, which is kind of cool. So,
it was surprising. They were like sending, I think, 1 a month. Some were 1 a week. Or like, no, you got to send more than that. It's not enough.
And for those of you who are either struggling with Facebook ads or just need to learn how to scale them or to just get another point of view, I got a Facebook ads course that's doing really well. People are loving it. It's called The Truth About Facebook. If you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, you could sign up there. There's a little video. You could check out what we're doing. And then I will send you a link for a beta launch where you'll get the course for a third of the price. I actually think I just finished the last video, so it's probably going to be coming out of beta shortly. But yeah, I mean, there's I don't know.
Really? That's the last video? You didn't tell me it was the last video. That's awesome.
Well, that video I just did was on scaling.
It's the last base, I think, because I think there's probably going to be more videos as we go too. Right?
There's going to be more videos as we go, but that's going to be like for the initial beta launch. Those are going to be the videos that we launch with. So, yeah.
Cool. ecommerceuncensored.com/truth.
Yep.
All right, without further ado, Ryan Mckenzie, co-founder of True Earth. All right, welcome to the show, Ryan Mckenzie. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm good, Kev. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. We're really excited to have you on. We asked our producer, we said go out and find some cool people from some podcasts and reach out to them because Kevin and I are running out of shit to talk about.
Yeah.
So
so you got a lot of.
I mean, it's nothing. But it's like the evolution of this thing. Like we started off talking about our experiences in our agency, and then we're just like, okay, now we got to get to the next level. How do we do that? And getting guys like you on is how we get to the next level because we can only go so far with the stuff that we're doing. So.
Well, I'm very flattered that I fall into that category. Thank you.
Absolutely. She really liked your podcast on Petro Traffic, so that was cool.
I thought you were going to say my headshot, but I mean the podcast.
That might have been it too. We don't know. You didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of stuff going on in the subscription space. I know throughout a bunch of years, and now you've built like a pretty huge subscription-based business. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now?
Well, why don't you tell us about what you're doing first?
Okay. So yeah, that's because the journey
Whichever order you want to go.
Might take a minute. So yeah. Right. So like The biggest thing that people are probably seeing, or hearing me on podcasts and stuff for recently is the kind of like the crazy growth that we've had with this product that we launched in April of 2019, which is True. I don't have any here because we just moved, but it's basically this like 2-inch by 3-inch strip that replaces your laundry detergent. It weighs like 4% of a traditional load of laundry. So like regular cup of water, or like detergent, liquid detergent weighs about 30 to 40 grams, and this weighs 3. So basically we have this crazy product, and we've gone from, basically nothing to close to $2 million a month in about 15 months with no funding, completely bootstrapped. And yeah, it's been a crazy wild ride. I think we're almost at 60,000 active subscribers who are currently receiving the product on some level of frequency or some frequency level. But yeah, it's been fun. And like, we're starting to get in retail and do all those fun things that a lot of people have trouble transitioning from just being e-commerce to some of those other methods to distribute your product. So that's where we are now.
Right. So for those of you, I don't know, you kind of went in and out a little bit, but they went from like 0 to 2 million a month in 15 months, which is pretty crazy because Kevin and I are growing a business that we thought was kind of moving pretty quickly, and it's nothing like that. But so how did you get into, like, did you just sit around thinking like, what can I make better around my house? If you have a problem, like, because, laundry detergent is not like the first thing I would think about if I was going to go create a product, but obviously, everybody needs it. So it's a good start.
And I haven't done laundry since college. So.
Right.
Yeah. Laundry is a pain point for sure. Right. Like, but no, I didn't, I do sit around and think about like how everything that I see could be a business. Like that's just kind of maybe a disease or a sickness or whatever you want to call it. But like, that wasn't really how this came to be. It was kind of like, I have 3 kids, and when we started this, I only had 2. The third one came along a month and a half into this business. But I never used to be like super like pessimistic or anything about the future, but after I had kids, I started like becoming this a little bit more worrisome. Like I heard Elon Musk talking about how the world's going to be run by AI, and the podcast on Joe Rogan that he did. And it just like, it just kind of sounded all negative. And I had like this phase where I was just like really worried about like, what are my kids going to do for work? What am I like, are we going to have like a food shortage? Is there going to be like, I don't know. It was just like, maybe I'm sure every dad has this existential crisis at some point after they have kids. But anyways, I probably had a good year where I was like thinking like this. And then we were introduced this product somewhere in that phase. And I was just like, I don't know, man, I don't see how a strip of laundry detergent and like is going to clean my clothes. I just don't see how that's going to work. And then I also thought like the cost for laundry detergent isn't high enough to be able to run like direct response marketing and be profitable, or whatever. So we ignored it. And then I was watching a show on YouTube with my kids one day. It was like my wife was sleeping in, she was pregnant, and we're watching a very famous kids unboxing show. I'm not going to knock anybody, but we're watching it, and there's like they're like opening this like treasure chest, and it was like made of plastic, and it was wrapped in plastic, and inside of it there was like 100 little toys that were wrapped in plastic, and then the toys that were inside those were also made of plastic. And I was just like, holy shit, man, enough is enough. Like, wow, like why does this need to exist like this? This is just like causing all these problems. And it popped into my head, like, what about that laundry detergent could be a thing that like it's not going to fix the toy problem, but like I just started thinking about things that come in plastic that might not need to come in plastic. And so my business partner Brad, it was his family friend who had kind of like pitched him on this patented product, and none of us tried it. So I called Brad. I'm like, yo, get that guy to give us some of that stuff. And we all brought it home and we tried it. And I was like, there's no way that this works this well. So we tried it a few more times, and obviously it did. And so we've got Kevin, who's our CTO, to set up a site. And we're like, if we sell like 150 of these in the first month, and we'll keep it. We'll keep doing it. And we sold like, I can't remember the exact number, but it was between 1,500 and 2,000 subscriptions in like month one. So we're like, I guess that passes the test. And, from there, the train has been going very fast ever since. And we're all basically holding on by like the ends of our fingernails while like, we're like blowing on the wind at the back of the caboose, and it's like one of those bullet trains, just trying to make sure that we can just stay on for the ride,
So, okay, so this is interesting. Did you guys? So this guy came to you with this product. Now, you guys is he part of the business now, or did you guys buy it from him, or?
No, so he's Brad's wife's I think he lived with her for a little while when they were growing up. So like basically it was almost like Brad's wife's brother, they're like stepbrother. And he was invested with the company, and they were just at a dinner, and he's like, you guys should try something with this. And like initially we were just basically licensing it and selling it. And then since it did so well, we wound up getting exclusive access to distribution and all of that wonderful stuff that you want to have when you find something that's patented, that's doing well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you so we were talking earlier about a business that we have, an online magazine that we partnered up, actually, which we didn't mention, I don't think. We partnered up with a former National Geographic and BBC photographer, and he actually listens to the podcast, or listened. Now he just asks us shit instead of listening. And he basically came to us. He's like, look, I can't afford to do this on my own or pay you guys. I'd like you guys to partner with us. And we have a very similar situation where, we don't necessarily produce the content, but we're the marketers. And it seems like that's kind of like what you guys are doing. Is like you license this product, and now you guys are just blowing this thing up, which is I think, Ryan, I don't know about you, but like I feel like this is a trend. We spoke with Los Hustle, or you know Los Silva?
I don't know.
So he's doing the same exact thing where he's partnering up with people. I know this is a little different than what you're doing, but it makes me feel like kind of like the same thing. Because the next question I was going to ask you is like, how are you sourcing the product? But obviously,
I have done partnerships before for other brands. Like I've been part of about 7 different subscription box launches where I either had stake or percentage of back end or a number of different things. And I've done that route. It kind of, for me, it kind of wound up being a lot like the agency world, in that if the expectations of both parties aren't completely aligned, you will always run into some level of friction on whether like I want to grow, like if I have a stake in something, I obviously want to grow it, and that requires capital. And like a lot of people that are in those, most people probably aren't as growth focused as I am, and they want to take money. Well, I don't want to take money. I just want to grow. I just want to make things big. And I've learned from all these partnerships is that if you don't have all your expectations perfectly aligned in those scenarios, then it's just like any relationship. It's not going to work out. Like somebody's going to be upset about not having their expectations met, and it just becomes a gong show.
Yeah, absolutely.
How was it when you guys found this product and you thought it was really great, but then the thought of like trying to break into this multi-billion-dollar industry of laundry detergent, to me, that sometimes, gives you anxiety. Like, how am I ever going to break? You got huge players in this, how did that feel trying to break into that?
It's it's kind of funny because like when we first started this, a buddy of mine, Matt Bertulli, he owns, or he's the CEO and owner of a Pila case, which is an eco-friendly cell phone case that's made of flax. And I was like, yeah, it would be really cool if one day we could do like $10 million a year in revenue. And he's like, come on, man, think bigger. And like, it's funny because it sounds so simple, but like that silly little statement of think bigger, it just kind of like made me step back and think like, if you're planning to get to the 7-figure mark, like that's great money, but it's not like impact. And, or, I mean, I guess it depends on the size of a particular niche, but like with this, it was when we first started and we were making sales, like that, what you just said did pass through my head too. And it was like, wow, we're selling a significant amount of alternative laundry detergent in a space that like 20 years ago would have been absolutely impossible to break into. And now we've really broken into it. We're getting the attention of a lot of people. I think my thought process on the whole thing in the last 2 years has been, we can compete with the big boys because we're agile and we're small enough that we're agile. We can do direct response. We can change our ads so frequently. We can change our content frequently. We can split test frequently because we don't have to go through this political process of approval from 100 different people. It's like, I make a decision. If it's a big decision, I might run it by my partners and we go. And that allows us to iterate and change so quickly. And there's a really, like the big boys are just not doing direct to consumer on a level that I feel like in 2020 right now with what's going on, a lot of people are kicking themselves, or not a lot of people, a lot of brands that are primarily sold through retail are kicking themselves for not getting more of a stake in D2C. Mm. That's a really long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry. I'm really good at that.
It's okay. So what does your team look like? And what is like, because this is one thing that we're kind of struggling with right now is that, Kevin and I are kind of doing all the marketing ourselves. We're in Facebook, we're doing all the landing pages, we're doing all the emails, we're doing all this stuff. And, it's getting to a point where it's like, we almost feel like we should be hiring some people to do this. Like, what does your day-to-day look like? Because you're talking about making a decision. Do you then pass it off to your team? I mean, $2 million a month, it's not a small company. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, our team it's gotten pretty big. Like, I don't know the exact number of people that work with us or work for us, but like including part-time people, I think I read the other day that we have like almost 80 people working for us in some capacity. We're probably 20-ish full-time, including like financial controllers, project managers, we have revenue enablement manager. We have like 4 or 5 sales guys for commercial. So like we have a couple of guys that are for like small specialty chains. And then we have a couple of guys working on big chains. We've got my marketing team. I basically have myself. I handle my day-to-day is like, quite a few meetings, setting up. I still do run majority of the Facebook stuff. I have somebody that runs tests for me to try to find new creative, and then I'm still juggling like the day-to-day large part of Facebook, just because it's not easy to find somebody that can spend $50,000-$60,000 a day. Like when you want to really push, like I actually don't know too many people that have spent that much in a day. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm like this like Facebook god or something like that, but I've been doing it for so long that it's just like, whatever, we just adjust as we go. And then what else we do? We have, so on my team, I have a marketing manager who also handles copywriting and email writing. We've got a PR person that handles like outreach to micro YouTube video creators and blogs and newspapers for when we put out a story. And then I've got a senior PR person that handles kind of like the large events and like trying to create the actual story idea and the relationships. And then what else I got? I do a virtual assistant that handles like micro influencers and outreach. And then I got another dude that handles like tech implementation of marketing. So we've grown pretty well. And I'm going to be hiring probably a full-time social media person in the next couple of months as well. So lots of bodies.
So how did you?
That's quick.
Yeah, that is, and for me, Kevin and I, we built our agency up at one point to about 10 people, and we like looked at each other. We're like, there's just too many personalities here, and it's like so hard to manage. Personalities. Everybody expects something different. Who wants a handbook, and who wants to know like PTO, who wants to know like holidays, and it's just. We really just looked at each other. We're like, this is not what we signed up for. How did you guys grow so quickly? I know I heard you guys on another podcast. I heard you on another podcast. Talked a lot about micro influencers, and I think a lot of people when they're trying to grow their e-commerce brand, they're always thinking like, go after like these big giant, people with 50, 60, million followers, and they think like. That's going to do it for them. But in reality, those people first don't want to talk to you. Number two, they don't really care about your brand. But these littler guys, right? They're actually the people that give a shit because they need the money. They want the money, right? And they want to give you as much exposure as possible. And they want it to work so that you keep paying them. Anything I'm off with anything there?
No, we definitely use micro influencers a lot. It's tough to really put like a dollar value on exactly what that translated to. As much as I would love to say that that's helped drive, it's definitely helped drive our growth, like for sure, because our product's definitely a multi-touch purchase, right? So most people that have been to the website are now chased around the internet by us with all of our ads. And I hear it from everybody, like, don't click on the site unless you want to see the ads everywhere. But so that's just another touch point. But it's like, if your product's inexpensive enough that you can distribute it basically for free. Like, obviously if you're paying somebody $20 an hour in the US to reach out to these micro influencers, it's probably not going to work out because the cost associated with the labor is intense. But if you can get a team of like virtual assistants to be doing that for you, and your COGS are inexpensive enough that you can distribute them, that's fairly scalable. And if you're going after micro influencers, you're also getting those assets that you can use in your own ads, as well as, it's so inexpensive. You don't even have to pay them. They just want the product, and they want, like, it's also kind of like a status symbol for them to be gifted things. So long-winded answer to that, that's definitely contributed to our success. If I was to probably start over again, I probably would have done more focused on YouTube micro influencers, just because with YouTube, that content's around forever. Like Instagram's basically like Twitter, where, it goes away. Or doesn't go away, but it's just not exposed after a while. But if you can find a micro influencer on YouTube, or, you invest in, say, 1,000 of them and 10 of them wind up blowing up, you basically have this like testimonial from this monster somewhere down the line. It's kind of like buying penny stocks, right? Like you just buying one here, one there, and hoping one of them cashes out eventually. But yeah, influencers.
So if you had to do it again, $2 million a month is not good, and is that good enough for you in 15 months?
Well, I would probably just do both. Honestly, we're still hammering away on micro influencers, but we're trying to get more YouTube exposure.
I just messed with you.
So to step back to like when you first started, when you guys were like looking to just get like 150 of these things to people's hands, like where did you start? What was the first thing you guys did to get it out there?
So the very first thing we did is we put it in a subscription box. We put it in the Simply Beautiful box, and we launched it. We launched the same month as Earth Day, which is in April. We put that out there. The very first sale we made was to a friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in a little bit. I used to, in a period of downtime in my life, I was doing sales for a telecom company here in Canada. called Bell. And I worked with this lady. She no longer works there anymore either, but I texted her, check out this new product I just launched. And I didn't tell her to buy it, but she went and bought it. So she was the first sale. And then the subscription box, even though we already sold all those to them and it was going to be in there, that never came out probably for like 2 or 3 weeks after we started selling. But the first like direct sales channel that was actually starting to become successful was Facebook ads. But it did not, like the first day that we put up Facebook ads, I don't even think I made a sale. Like the first day was like a bust, and I was like, oh shit, like, are you kidding me? Like, like, and you guys have, I'm sure Siri's talking to me. You guys have probably done this before where you launch something new and there's like crickets and you're like, oh my God. And I had all this anticipation leading up to that point where I was like, it's going to work. But then is it going to work? And it did wind up working. It worked pretty well, but it took a couple of days for Facebook to give us, I think day 2, we started getting a couple sales.
What did you put out there? Was it more of about the environmental impact, or was it just how great the product is? What did you start with?
Yeah, the big hook that I had was that it helps keep 700 million empty plastic jugs that wind up in landfills per year in North America. And I was kind of leading with that. And then the other thing was it was as sensitive on your skin as it is the environment, which didn't fly as well as the other one. But that was kind of the hook, that the 700 million help keep 700 million laundry jugs out of North American landfills was the initial winner. 700
million. So what happens when I recycle? Because I recycle, isn't it supposed to stay out of the landfills?
That's what I thought. But apparently, you'd think that like the government, I mean, I don't think the government's doing a bad job because they want people to recycle. But the issue is that there is not enough demand for the product that recycling plastic produces, because recycled plastic is more expensive than new plastic. So what happens is about 20% of, between 10 and 20, depending on whatever day of the week it is we had for breakfast, 10 to 20% of plastic winds up actually getting recycled and turned into something usable. The rest of it, things like having a label on it, having a lid on it, all these different things can contaminate it, make it not usable. And then there's just excess plastic. So they wound up burning it or disposing of it. Or I think Canada was sending some to the Philippines. I don't know why they would do that, but the Philippines sent it back in the big containers. But so very little plastic gets recycled. So if you're drinking like plastic water bottles, even if you're recycling them, like people think they're doing the right thing. But unfortunately, there's just not enough people looking for the end material that comes out of recycling.
Yeah, as I'm drinking out of a plastic water bottle. Has that been, you think, your biggest message and the biggest driver of the product is the environmental impact of it?
I mean, it's definitely, we've got like a movement that we've built called the True Earth Movement. And basically our goal was originally to eliminate 1 million plastic jugs. And we're closer to I think we're at almost 1.5 now. But that was kind of like the get behind this. You're not just buying laundry detergent. You're not just buying another product. You're becoming part of something bigger. And the goal is to obviously cut back on dissonance or buyer's remorse by having the person be part of a solution and be a hero instead of just like buying a product.
You know what's interesting, Ryan, is that we've been speaking to you're familiar with Klaviyo, right?
Yeah, we're using a little Klaviyo action.
All right, awesome. They're doing a contest, and they had like these 5 finalists, and we spoke to the 5 finalists. We interviewed them, and it's interesting because the companies that grow the quickest today, it seems, are the ones that are behind some sort of movement or created some sort of movement. Because people, they don't mind spending money when it's for something they care about, right? And they don't really. It's crazy to think about, because we as business owners think everybody gives a shit about our product, but in the end, it's really like they care more about how they feel using the product or how they feel interacting with the brand. And we were talking to these people and they're like, they're growing these amazing businesses like really quickly. And every single one of them was like, yeah, we just created a community of people who like got behind our shit. And it's crazy because I feel like most people like me go into things like, how do I make the most money? You know what I mean? Where if you can be like, how do I create the biggest, or how do I create a nice big community or a movement or like that, the rest of it will take care of itself. And it sounds like that's what you guys did, right?
Totally. I mean, and like the simplest way to do that is, I talk about this like all the time, is like look at something like Story Brand. Like, who is the villain? Like if you're David and Goliath, like we can't take out Goliath by ourselves. Like in order to take out Goliath, we need 1,000 people. And like, you probably already hate Goliath because Goliath is going around doing all this crap to your family and these other people. And like, in order to kill Goliath, we need 1,000 people with rocks. And we'd love it if you were one of those people to help throw rocks at us. Like, you could, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even that difficult to actually make a movement or to make an impact. It's just, people need to, I mean, one big thing that people can take away from this or use to grow an e-commerce business is that like, things are commodifying now, man. Like, there's like everything's a race to the bottom in terms of price and on stuff. Like, you look at like those portable battery chargers for your cell phone or whatever. Like, I bought one like 7 years ago. It was like $200. That same thing's like $3 at the dollar store now, right? Like that's 7 years that just basically, you have to have some weird extra bonus feature if you want to be able to compete on price, unless you have something else that you're doing. So like, if you can create that narrative around your brand and like things that people care about, then it's just so much easier to buy your product, because they're not, like you said, they're not just buying a thing, they're buying something that represents their identity, about the things that they value, about like where they want the world to go. And people are willing to pay for that because they want the world to be a better place.
Yeah, Russell Brunson talks about us versus them all the time. He's like, that's how you do it. He's like, it's us versus them, and he's like, that's really the trick. Right. I wanted to, Kevin and I are real big on Facebook ads, and we are. I laughed when you said, yeah, we're spending $50,000 a day. Kevin and I thought we're hot shit.
Big shots, spending
$90,000 a month. And
that's still pretty good. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's still right.
I can scale up right now, Jason, if you want. I can.
Let's go to 50,000 a day. The thing that we like, and I'm gonna talk a little bit. I know we haven't talked about any like tips or tactics or techniques, but one thing that I try to instill in our listeners, because I get a lot of emails saying like, how do I scale? I don't know how to scale. And everybody tries to scale too quickly. Everybody try to they want to spend 1,000 a day, then they want to go to 2,000 a day, then they want to go to 4,000 a day, instead of doing it very, very slowly. And then what they don't realize is, as you start spending more money, that ROAS goes. I mean, literally, you can just be getting a 1x return. And what have you found that as well? Because I've never, like you said, I've never even seen a brand. I mean, we work with a $40 or $50 million brand, which is bigger than you guys, and they don't even spend $50,000 a day. So I don't even know what that looks like. But what kind of, in terms of when you're spending that kind of money, I'm asking for myself. When you're spending that kind of money, what do your returns look like? I mean, what does that look like when you're spending $50,000 a day? Insane to me. So,
I mean, generally, since we are subscription focused, I'm primarily looking to I'm primarily looking to break even on the front end. So because I know my lifetime value, I know my numbers, I know what
month
that's going to look like.
Right. Month two, you're going to be profitable, right?
Yeah, we know roughly our customer velocity or value velocity or velocity, CVV, whatever the heck that acronym stands for. but like, I mean, the biggest thing in order to accomplish that is like, people are, you know, I see a lot of people like, we need like all these CBOs with like, you know, crank the budget up 20% a day or whatever. Man, I don't listen to any of that shit. Like, you know, those are great like rules if you're being like really anal about things, or like copying and duplicating ad sets. But the one thing I always tell people with like that process, or that like kind of like way of doing the best practices business, is that like people are so afraid of screwing up an ad set or a campaign. And I just like to say, like, dude, if you screw up that campaign and your business is broken, then you don't really have business. Because like, you know what I mean? Like, if you can't start another campaign and generate like similar results, then you basically struck Facebook gold, and that's your only gold mine. As soon as that dries up, you're dead. So like, if people like to major in the minors, and if you get that detail focused in the things that, yes, they matter, but I think in the grand scheme of things, just like fire up another campaign and see what happens. But for us to get scale, like what I typically do is I have a couple of audiences that I know that work well. Usually lookalike audiences, or a couple interest-based ones, and we just like sorry about that. So we have these,
no problem.
We have these audiences, and that we know that are successful, and we just basically take a couple sets of ad creative that we know always works well, like the text and copy, and then we test like influencer images, we test different videos, and every week we usually test 5 things. And then I basically have a bunch of different types of campaigns running at all times, because I've noticed that Facebook, you know, everybody knows Facebook's about as volatile as that crazy ex-girlfriend you had in high school. But so what I've noticed is that different types of campaigns have a tendency to do well during different like algorithm environments. So I'll have a bunch of different things running on like whatever $500 or $1,000 a day budget, enough to optimize to get optimized. And then whenever I get winning ads, I basically pluck them out of the testing campaign and I move them into the other stuff. But typically where I get the most scale is on manual bid caps. And when I want to spend, it takes a little bit to ramp it up, but you know, I just basically, I have these CBOs that have probably like 5 or 6 ad sets in each. And I'll put like an insane daily budget, like 20 grand. And I'll just basically creep up my max bids by $2 to $3 every hour until I start getting action. And it usually takes me a week or 2 to finally find that magic point. But eventually I'll wind up overshooting at some point. And once you start getting that volume, as you pull back, it sticks, like even as you decrease the CPA. So like once Facebook gets a little bit more data on what's performing, then you can start dialing it back and kind of get to like a sweet spot. But yeah, I wish I had some like super magical formula, but majority of the spend, like I spent like $20,000 on one CBO yesterday that had like, it was like a lookalike audience. I had 5 chunks of lookalike audience from like my add to carts. That was it. And it spent 20 grand and worked well.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Like, and this is where I think a lot of people will miss the boat with Facebook ads, dude, is like, it's not just like set it and forget it. I mean, we're in there all day looking at this shit. And I'm like, you know, and you know, look, Facebook's not going to let everybody spend $20,000 a day. So for any of you guys listening, you've obviously worked that up, right? If I put $20,000 in, they may. I mean, we've been spending $90,000 a month. We haven't had any problems. But for most people listening to this, you know, Facebook's not going to let you spend $20,000 a day. They're just not. At least that's the experience I had. They will, you know, slow you down a little bit.
That's a lot of $900 charges all at once.
Yeah. Your credit card company's going to stomp you before they do.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, the thing is that I think that you know, with people with smaller budgets, Ryan, and this is what I've found is like, when we started spending, I mean, look, $90,000 for me, for us personally to spend our own money on is a lot of money, right?
It is for sure.
And I found that when you spend even that amount, you learn a lot more. You can see patterns a lot quicker. For most people that don't have that kind of money to spend, because they don't really, what it comes down to, they don't have an offer that's working. Because if you have an offer that's working, you can spend whatever the hell you want, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're at least breaking even on the front end. But you know, a lot of those tips and tactics and things you're talking about, it's really for the guys that don't have the kind of money that we're spending, right? They're looking for a formula that will allow them to get there because they're scared to kind of, you know, go to that next step.
Totally. You know, one thing to point out that I think a lot of people, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they told me that when I said this one thing to them, it kind of changed their perspective on ads. One thing that we do that allows us to grow probably faster than a lot of people is I do a blended CPA. So I have a KPI for what I want to pay for a new customer, and then I know that there is halo effect from my Facebook ads. So we also sell on Amazon. We also sell to retail. We also, you know, when we put out these ads, we get exposure. We get links that give us SEO. Like it gets people blogging about us, which gets us links, which drives up our organic traffic. So we set a KPI for how much we want to pay for new customers, period. And then I take all of our ad spend across all the channels that we're spending on. I divide by all the new customers, and we get like a gross CPA, which I can then, you know, I have a pretty good idea of where a lot of this is actually coming from, because Facebook isn't going to track the purchases that happen on Amazon. Facebook's going to have some attribution that it just doesn't pick up.
Email.
So if you go email, right? So if you can look at it from like a holistic standpoint, like, and use the attribution inside Facebook as more like a compass instead of a rule, because there's a lot of inherent benefits that you get that aren't necessarily measurable directly from an attribution system. So if you can kind of like I said, stand back and just take everything, pull it together, divide up the pie, and make sure that those KPIs are like adding up. Like the two things that we track, and I'm sorry for just rambling here, the two big KPIs are like, what is our overall CPA? Like, is it in the range we want? And then the second one is percentage of ad spend to total revenue. So as long as those two things are in line, even if the numbers don't necessarily add up on Facebook, we know that Facebook's probably just having issues attributing things properly.
Or it's just outside the window. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, we do the same thing. I mean, like we make a lot of money from email, but we know that most of our, you know, people come from Facebook, from our Facebook ads. So yeah, like at the end of the month, we'll chalk it up and we'll be like, okay, look, maybe our ads didn't show a 2x return, but we know we spent 90,000 on Facebook. We got back almost 200 grand. I'm only doing Facebook ads at this point and email. And obviously we're starting to get SEO and that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, that's all we really give a shit about. Like, what did we spend and what did we get back? And how much did it cost us to acquire a customer? I mean,
we deal with that a lot on the agency side. Like we have clients that want to know exactly what we put $1 in and where it came out. And it's like, they have to put it under a microscope. And we're just like, look at it as step back, like you said, and look at it as a whole, what's going in and what's coming out. That's basically how we work with our business. Speaking of email, what part does that play in not just customer acquisition? Like, are you capturing emails on your website, but also like keeping your customers around? Because obviously you have to do that too. You have to think about keep retaining customers as you go.
Yeah. Email. We do quite a bit of email. We don't send that many emails, but like, I would say last month it was probably 10%. 10%. I mean, I know that's not that much in the grand scheme of things. It's probably 10% of our revenue. We're looking to do more email. But a lot of, actually, it's funny, we do pretty well just by sending like updates on where we are with like the movement. Like we have a couple things. We like donate to those in need and stuff as well. So we send out these updates and we just kind of like tell them what they've accomplished. So it's not like, again, it's not our accomplishment, it's their accomplishment as being part of this group, what they've helped us succeed with, like the plastic out of landfills, or the how many loads of laundry we've donated to our causes. And those actually sell quite a bit of stuff. Like we'll sell like $20,000 on like a PS. There's some bundles available. You should check them out at the store. Like they do amazing, and they have very low unsubscribe rate. But for capturing email, we capture email. We have like the standard like spin to win thing. Works okay. And we do some contests, typically monthly, where we give away a couple annual subscriptions. And that's pretty much how we grow our email. We're not doing anything too wild.
Yeah, we're like the opposite. We go big on email, like an email a day, and it's probably like 50% of our overall revenue.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And 50% of our spend is just to acquire email addresses, because we know on the back end of those emails, that's where the money comes in.
That's where
I've done that before too, like with Explore. When we were really pushing Explore a couple of years ago, I was all email, like 100% budget was just to email with like self-liquidating funnel, and it worked amazingly well.
Yeah, we like it. Like we're having like, because Facebook has its like natural ebbs and flows. Like when we have a bad day on Facebook, instead of just turning the ad off like most people like to do, we'll just send out an email, and it just makes up for some of that loss. But
that's smart, man.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Do you have any other any little tips that you can give out to our audience? Maybe starting a subscription, a recurring revenue plan, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that I see where people are like, I don't understand why people aren't subscribing to my product. And it's typically because people aren't giving people are like, I'll use supplements as an example. Like they'll sell like a jar of protein for $20, and the subscription will be like $18 or something like that. It's like, what does that save? 10%. And with a supplement, it's one of those things that typically I know personally with it, when I stopped taking a supplement, it's because I ran out. And I just was too lazy to go back to the store to get it, and it just fell out of my routine. But like, if the only benefit is 10% off, like it's not really enough to make you go, yeah, I'll sign up for the refills. But if you can get a bigger discount, so like if you're starting from the beginning, I would start with a higher price point for your one-time purchase, and like figure out what you actually want to get paid for the subscription portion, and then adjust your one-time purchase accordingly, so you can price anchor that the subscription is like a no-brainer. Like we offer, I think 37% off our one-time purchase price on a subscription, and 65% of people take it. Versus it's a lot.
Your acquisition cost is already built into that first sale. So like, that you got to if you keep them around for 2, 3, 4 months or whatever, you're making money. I mean, it's just like when you talk to like the pros, when you talk to people who know what they're doing, and then you talk to the people who are just getting going, and all of us have been there. I mean, we've all started businesses and like just gotten scared and just like stopped, or turned off the Facebook ads or whatever. But then when you later on down the road in your career here, you look back and you're like, shit, man, like maybe I had a winner there that I just didn't give it enough time because you just didn't understand this kind of thing. It's really important. It's really important.
Totally. Yeah. So if somebody was starting today, I would say like, and you have the ability to control your price now, is like your subscription price is the price you actually want to get. And you need to anchor your non-subscription price high enough that people are going to be like, okay, I need to do that. That is the single biggest thing that I see people doing and wondering why they're not getting a higher percentage of subscribers.
Because you really need to give them a reason. It's a good point, because when I see these, auto renewal things, it's like that first thing is like, okay, if I don't like it, then I'm going to have to figure out how to contact them. And there's this whole list of other things that they're going to have to work into this purchase. So it's really got to hit that price point where it's really worth it at that point.
Totally. Yeah. Another thing you can do too, well, I'll stop talking in a second, I promise,
It's all
is
right.
like we do is we match, I actually need to update the communication a little bit better on the site, but we match every person who subscribes. We donate the equivalent strips of laundry to like hospitals, shelters, food banks. We've got some stuff that's happening over in Africa with new moms. So not only are they getting the product for a better price, they are also keeping plastic out of landfills. And because they subscribe, we're also going to match their purchase and donate it to people in need, so they know that they're helping somebody else out.
It's so interesting, man. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I'm around your age. I'm 43. I know you're a little younger than me. But Tom's shoes, man, they were like the
Yeah.
pioneer, dude. I mean, I remember what had to be 10 years ago, right? I mean, Tom's. I mean, they
Yeah. I don't even know anymore. My concept of time is gone. Like I have no idea.
But I feel like those guys were like the pioneers of like, donating. You buy a pair, we donate a pair.
Yeah.
And now everybody's doing it, and it's just crazy to see how well it works. It's nice to do a good thing, and then also it helps grow your business. So I think those two things, I think you can't beat it, right?
For sure.
You got some other products on here too. I'm just looking through your site now. Are you are these new? Are you developing them, or how are those working out for you? These are like, I think I see you got like a bamboo cutlery set and things like that, supplemental products.
Yeah, we've got a few supplemental products. The dryer balls are probably our biggest winner out of all of those. I mean, obviously it makes sense because we're selling laundry detergent. It's the next like, I don't know, like I can't think of a good analogy right now, but obviously when something is related, it's going to sell better.
Right.
So those do really well. We do some other like formulated products coming out soon that I anticipate should do pretty well. But yeah, a lot of those other things, they're everybody generally likes them. They have pretty good reviews, but our goal really is to make the laundry room, the bathroom, and the kitchen more sustainable. And kind of like our motto is like, little hinges swing big doors. We don't expect people to change everything in their life overnight, but if you can make a series of changes over an extended period of time, then like when you can get hundreds of thousands of people all making tiny little changes, they add up to a much larger sum. So we're just trying to give people the ability to make those decisions easier and get it from one place.
You made fun of me before we started recording about my dad jokes, and you seem to have a ton of those little dad sayings, like the little hinge, big door thing.
Yeah, like
those are real.
Yeah, like we don't have anything cool like that, man.
It's like in a dad book somewhere. It's got to be.
Yeah, I have like a dad journal that I like write down all my one-liners in. I was grateful enough to have a dad that riddled me with puns. So I was in training for a long time.
Before we go, I'm sorry. I just have to add. Sorry, you were, you said, and I'm not poo-pooing what you said because it's true, but it's just interesting. Like when you said like a lot of little changes like make big impact. Like, has any of us been around long enough to see that actually happen, or is that just something we think is going to happen? Right? Like, I feel like it's like over such a long period of time. We're all like,
our kids.
Yeah, seriously, have you seen anything that's come to fruition using that sort of like analogy, I guess?
I mean, I can think of another context that it does. Like, I mean, if you look at like business, for instance, or like when you started your e-commerce store, you didn't have an abandoned cart. So you add an abandoned cart, that door swings a little bit. Then you didn't have like a post-purchase sequence. So you added that, and that now you're making a little bit more money per customer. And then you're like, oh, there's like a one-click upsell app that can give me an extra like 10% return on ad spend. So you add that, and I don't know, I can go on and on and on and on. All these little tiny things in business slowly, like, they give you the structure and the systems that you need to succeed. But if you just stayed with where you were on day one without all those extra little hinges, you'd probably be out of business because, so, I mean, that's the analogy to business, but yeah,
we always say like it's like a pie, right? Like every little piece is not going to like make or break you, but all of them together will, make it. But it's just interesting to me, like when you hear like, just like, just Tom's like everybody says it, like a lot of little things out of something big. And I'm always thinking to myself, like, we know that to be like the case? Because I feel like it takes so long that we don't really see it. But anyway.
That's a good point. That's like, okay, like backing up your claim.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's kind of like a copywriting thing, right? Like when you make a claim on something, it's a lot more powerful if you immediately back it up with evidence, right? So, I mean, that's a pretty, you're making my wheels turn here, but looking into ways that we could actually put together a case study.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, whenever somebody says that, I believe it too. It's just interesting that it's like a long period of time that it's like, sometimes you don't realize, like, do we really see it happen? And it's just crazy to think about. Just one of those things that, I don't know.
When I'm in between digging out of the poo-poo, I agree with you. I think
you're not the only weird person on this call. Right.
All right,
because you said that you're always thinking about shit. So
Ryan, where can we find this laundry detergent?
This laundry detergent can be found at www.true.earth. EARTH. There's no .com and there's no E on True.
That's pretty cool. You're using that extension non.com. Has that been any issue at all?
Not that I know of. I've got some pretty cool. I got some pretty cool, like, real big links from some domain like like GoDaddy type characters as examples of people using a different extension. So I don't know. It's probably.
I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's probably limited typed in. I don't know, but
it could have been 5 million a month.
Yeah.
If you were .com.
Little hinges swing big doors, Jason.
Right.
You got to come up with something new. You used that one already, Ryan.
All right. I'm a trite MFer.
Well, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate you having
awesome.
Jumping on with us and keeping you for this long. We don't know how to shut up, so sorry.
Me either. We probably shouldn't be in the same room together ever.
Well, thanks, Ryan.
Your stick is a little bigger than mine, so I think I'd be quiet.
What?
His business is a little bigger, Kevin. It was a joke.
Good one, Jason.
All
it's
right.
a dad thing? Is that another dad thing?
Whatever.
I think a dad podcast.
All right.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot, man.
All right. Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
That was a fun interview. Ryan's a great guy. He had a really great story.
He's a great guy. He's really, it's funny because before we got on with him, he was he's like a really easy guy to talk to, Yeah. And then we were taking up a lot of his time, so we felt badly, but well,
he was just saying, like, I'm all over the place. After we recorded, we started to talk about how you and him are so similar in the way how you're always just like trying shit, coming up with new ideas.
Right.
Great guy.
Yeah, really good guy. He uses Klaviyo, as we said. If you go to klaviyo.com/uncensored, you got to sign up. I don't know what you're waiting for. Everybody that we talk to, including ourselves, is using it. It shows you everything that you need to know to grow your business, to create, even SMS now. It's the most profitable platform that we're using. So go sign up.
Yeah, and subscribe to the podcast because we got some really great stories coming at you from the Klaviyo Own Growth Stories contests.
Right. And if you need some help with Facebook ads, the truth about Facebook ads, I promise you, there is stuff in that course. And it's not what I'm saying, it's what people are telling me.
Yeah, I love getting those texts from you where you send me screenshots of little messages you get from people. So that's awesome.
Yeah, people are telling me that it's one of the most detailed course they've ever taken. So
yeah, I don't know how they can really like you that much, but I guess
I'm amazing. So if you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/truth, you could sign up for the beta launch, and I'll send you a link. And that's it.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 179. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. And we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.